How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Gav, aka BEYTEK. Today in this video we're going to be looking into the turbo Honda Civic, playing with ARP versus eBay head studs. And just a quick reminder, guys, if you wouldn't mind to give the video a like or a dislike if you didn't like it, or drop a wee comment or that, but down below. I'm doing little experiments to see how it affects the analytics of videos. Here is my little Honda Civic. So the Honda Civic is 1996 model, I think it is. This is a D16 Z6 engine and coil and plug, blah blah blah. I'm running on a maxxecu. I have a Pulsar G25 550 internal wastegated turbo, and the thing's an absolute rocket ship. I have been having issues with it from basically as soon as I started boosting it with the overpressurization of the coolant system. Now I'm monitoring coolant pressure system here because these are notorious for lifting heads. I have inside here a brand new head gasket and there's fake ARP head studs in there, and yeah, when I come and boost, this thing starts lifting the head. Originally I did think, I put in the new radiator at the same time. I thought, it's maybe just the cap, pressure cap itself, but I've tried various different types, and I've stuck with the 1.3 bar Tegawa, and yeah, it's not working the best. It's just the one I left in there, really. So I've taken logs from before with all different cap pressures with setting up with this car. I've got logs in maxxecu, which I'm going to stick in this video to compare the difference between the fake head studs and the genuine head studs to see the difference if they're lifting the head. Over here we have an OEM head gasket that I actually used copper spray on before, and this actually worked perfect. I was very happy with it. I never tested it with boost, but NA, the copper spray 100% worked on a used gasket. These studs here are actually from a K20 or a K24, I can't remember which engine it was from. They're quite beefy actually from factory. This is a Honda D16 and you can see the difference in comparison. The D16 is around about 2mm thinner. This ones here are genuine ARP studs, bolts with full lot, and the ones inside the engine just now are the fake ones from eBay, which were £26. Now, I don't necessarily believe that the head studs themselves is the issue. I think potentially could be the head gasket. So, in hindsight of that, I've got another head, same with my friend Dwayne. We've got two Z6 heads. We're going to be taken through to a guy called Grant in Dundee, and he's going to be skimming the heads to make sure they're flat, decking them basically. We've been to Tegawa and we've ordered up two brand new OEM head gaskets. We've also went to America and we didn't physically go there, but we've gotten some time certs, and also I've spoke to Richard at EMS. Engine Management Solutions, and he's sourced me some SRT 12mm or 11mm ARP head studs, genuine ones as well. So that's oversizing the head studs, which is supposed to be the fix for these. I just can't wait to turn up the boost. So without further ado, we'll take the rocker cover off and I'm going to pop these ARP bolts out one at a time. I'm going to leave the whole head torqued down. I'm just going to do one at a time. You guys might gripe about that because it's not completely perfect. However, try and tell me what's wrong with that, because I'm not disturbing the head if the rest of them are fully torqued down. So, as you can see down here, everything's quite clean. I'm pretty happy with that. Number 4 is a smoky hoorah thing in the morning. And I'm just noticing there that actually the oil does come up past the level of the valve stem seals. So that could be the issue. Not that it's coming up high, but the fact that it is above the valve stem seal, so during the night the oil is seeping down into the cylinder, and when it's starting up it's a smoky biash. Down in here we have the ARP head studs. I can get them from here. These are the fake ones. There's 10 in total. I'll go and get this ratchet set up, and we'll start off with eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch it, that one. See, they didn't actually feel that tight. Not at all. And yes, when the car was warmed up, done a few heat cycles, I did retorque them. Yes, that did feel relatively soft, if I'm honest. It's hard to explain how soft feels, but generally, in fact, when I took the ARP studs off the last engine yesterday, they went with a crack. As you can see, Molly lube as well. I have been using Molly lube on these, aka the ARP stuff, so equal torquing. and what we'll do is we'll compare this against a genuine one. So here are the two studs. This is the fake one and this is the genuine, but to look at, they look remarkably the same. And the threads, I would say potentially the ARP ones are cut slightly better. You can see a slight bit undercut here at the very top of the fake ones. Now this is a very, it's not experimental test, but if you can tell in the audio on this one here, they sound really similar, and that's not a hardness test. I'm just curious to see if they did sound any different, so don't shoot me down for that. But yeah, one thing that we can look at though is the thickness. So we'll zero this out here, 9.85, and we have 9.90. So they are, the genuine ARP ones are fractionally wider, fractionally. So this stuff here is Brian Crowler ARP. It's basically ARP molly-lube, and that's what I'll use for eco torquing. Also as well, it's a good idea to actually blow out the hole, because you don't want any liquid down here, you don't want any oil or anything like that, because that can cause a hydraulic lock when you're tightening these down, and that can crack your block. So yeah, what I'll do is I'll lube this up, stick it in, get the nut and the washer on there as well. You need to lube up the shoulder of both sides of the washer and the shoulder of the nut. We'll put it down and we'll torque it to spec. And I'm going to torque this up to 85 Newton meters. They definitely had a different feel to them. That's going to be hard to explain. The last ones felt a little bit dubious, you know, that there, I get a positive click. With the fake ones, I could almost keep going. It felt like it was yielding. One thing I want to show here, this is a fake ARP washer. It's actually indented and squished down the washer, whereas if you see the genuine ARP ones, they're just completely flat, there's no squish down. And these have been torqued at about like 90 Newton meters, because I know the boy I got them off of. So there we have it, all ARP studs in and torqued up. They did actually torque up better than the fake ones, if I'm honest. They did. It's hard to explain, but they felt a lot better, more positive when I actually got to the torque setting I was wanting to use. So happy with that. I'm just noticing though, you know, in here all the oil around 4, and if you look down here, there's a hole down there. So all this 1, 2, 3 drains back to the sump, but 4 doesn't. It seems to hold here, and the drain, I think and assume it's this one here, which is too high really. So I think the oil has to come up to this level over this bolt and then down that one there. There's a little hole here from the BEYTEK solenoid that obviously just leaks into there. It must be some sort of bypass. And there's also a hole down here which leaks back to the sump as well. So yeah, it seems to be the intake side that's doing it, and when I pull the plugs, it's always number like 4, because obviously it's 1, 2, 3, 4 in these engines with a timing belt there. It's always 4 that's black and it's covered in oil. So yeah, valve guides are, I've done the valve stem seals, so I'm starting to think it's valve guides that are fucked on 4. Right guys, we're in the car. I'll start up in a minute. As you can see by my fuel trims, they're, you know, 9 degrees. This is a table I've set up actually in maxxecu, and this is percentage cut. So my coolant pressure here, you know, it should hover around about this area here. Obviously up and down RPM. As you go up in RPM, your coolant pressure often goes up. The cap rating I've got is 1.3 bar, which is 230 kPa. And as you can see here, as it starts going 160, 180, it starts introducing a cut. Because technically it should never go 1.8 bar, because the cap rating is obviously 1.3. So if it is going right over there, I know it's pushing the head gasket, combustion gases into the coolant system and lifting the head. I have a lot of logs using various different timing and cuts. So what I've got in the ECU as well is when it starts seeing the head lift, it actually starts to pull timing as well. You ask, why am I pulling timing and not boost? Well, actually it's the timing and the peak cylinder pressure that actually causes the head to lift. So as the coolant pressure goes up, it starts pulling back timing. So we'll go out for a run just now, warm the car up, we'll get some pulls in, and we'll see if it makes any difference with these Genuine ARP bolts. I can't see it, but we'll give it a shot. And like I say, I didn't buy these ARP bolts, they're given to me for free, and so I don't even really rate them that much. A lot of folk are going to be like, what the fuck, but even on my K24 I'm using Inline Pro ARP bolts. So yeah, let's get to it, get the car started up. Cold start, and yeah, we'll go from there. So just now the ARP bolts have not actually made a difference at all. So what we're going to do is I'm going to do some more pulls to get some right heat into it, get the coolant cap pressure up, and hopefully, you know, we'll see how it goes from there. I'll just do some logs, I'll get the logs, and I'll probably show you on the laptop as well on screen view exactly what we're seeing. Let's see if we can build this up to... Holy shit! A bar of boost! Just on launch control! Oh my god! Yeah, so it's very hard to show you guys, but I can feel the timing being pulled. So do a wee pull here anyway. By the looks of it, coolant pressure is still through the roof, so you can see it, coolant temp is at like 98 degrees now, so she's gotten hot, guys. So guys, what I'll do is I'll show you some data logs of what exactly is going on. I've taken data logs before and after ARP studs. I've got like hundreds of different data logs. Anyway, we're not here for the RX-7. That's coming very soon. Very soon. You're going to love that. We'll start off, we'll go back in time a little bit, and yeah, we'll go to this one here. So this is a log I've taken, and I'll go over it and talk you through it a little bit to show you exactly what's happening here. I'll zoom in a wee bit. This is maxxecu software, I love it. It's easy to use, that's for sure. So, as we can see here, this is just me driving along. So, as you can see here, this is RPM, this is my timing, and this is KPA, which is basically a bar. So if you guys work in PSIs, it's going to be pretty tricky for you to understand, maybe. These are my fuel trims, my target lambda, and my actual lambda. I work in lambda now. I don't even think about AFR because lambda just makes sense, especially if you're adding in ethanol and stuff, because lambda never changes where AFR does. So we've got coolant pressure here. This is our main ones, and I've also got ignition cut here as well, so you can see at this point here where it cuts ignition when there's an issue. So I'm driving along and deciding to go and do a pull, so I stick the foot down, car starts making boost. It's up to 200 kPa here, you can see on the wee bit. 200 kPa is 1 bar of boost, because you always have 100 kPa, which is negative, aka vacuum. So atmospheric is what we're at just now, which is 100 kPa. That's what we live and breathe at as humans. So 200 kPa is 1 bar of boost. So as we're up here, you know, we're seeing 1.1, kind of 1.15-ish boost. We won't get too obsessed by that, but you can see at this point here, the coolant pressure just raises and raises and raises, and then it hits my cut. And if you look there, you know, it's up at 275 kPa, which is
1.75 bar, which is huge because the cap rating is 1.3, so it shouldn't really go over 1.3 bar because that is obviously the cap rating. So as you can see here, I've got the cut, and I can maybe actually show you in the log where it cuts. Coolant pressure cut. So if I bring this wee log up here, and I'll just roll through it. So as I'm coming along, you know, coolant pressure's fine, and as I start coming into the pool itself, you can see here, making boost, starts coming up, RPM's going up, boost going up, but that's coolant pressure. And the coolant pressure keeps going up until boom. Once it's in there, that's when I get ignition cut. And that's basically telling me you're properly lifting the heat. So, on to the next one. I've done a couple of pulls. I actually pulled a lot of timing out it, so like 14 degrees is not a lot as it is, especially at that boost. I would normally run 18, maybe even more, but you know, it's just what we've got just now. So here's another little short one, actually a short pull. Here we go here. So at this point here, I pulled the timing right back. So there's 9 degrees, you know, 10 degrees, 11 degrees up the very top. And in actual fact, the coolant pressure was relatively under control. You know, it's still here is where you'd expect the cap rating, which is fine. But as you start getting up into the RPM and increasing that 1 degree up to 11 degrees, look at the cap rating starts raising back up again. Now this is okay, this is fine. But the reason it's not cutting at this point at 1.4 bars because all the heating, all the radiator fluid was actually pushed out the car. There was no fluid left to give. So as you can see after this pull, you know, this is very, very gradual. You can start to see this coolant start to raise up, raise up, raise up, raise up. And yeah, it just keeps on raising. And the reason for that is because, like I say, there was no fluid in the radiator. And yeah, so what we'll do is we'll go into, these were the fake ARP studs. Now we've done 2 pulls with the ARP studs, and you can already tell what's happening here. The head's still lifting. So what I'll do is I'll show you this logs here. We've got, this is one of the pulls I've done, the very first one of the ARP rods, studs. You can see these cuts coming in here, cut, 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 cut. You know, this is me coming up in boost, and it's starting to really cut. We have up here the coolant pressure. You can actually watch it here if you want, guys. So as I'm moving this along, 1.4 bar, 1.5 bar, kind of hovering about there. 1.5 bar is my cut. But if you're looking there, you'll see, well, yeah, it's cutting, that's fair enough, but the car's still running, but also it's pulling the timing back to around about 10 degrees. Every time the ignition cut comes in, it starts pulling timing. Now I'll show you what I've done there in the maxxecu to give that feature. So we'll go back onto it again, and in here we have extra ignition tables, and this one is called Coolant Mod. So as you can see from your keen eyes, as we've come into boost at this point here, we're starting to raise up, and on the side here, on one of my axes, I've got coolant pressure, the other axis I've got RPM. As coolant pressure starts to raise up, it starts, once it gets past the cap rating, it starts to pull ignition timing. And the idea of that is just to try and reduce the cylinder pressure to stop the head lifting. So when we go along here, you can see the GP limits. The GP limit is actually the cut, so it's also trying to cut to pull back. And we're up here, we're just teetering along that line there, you know, just teetering on that cut. And as you can see, it's pulling 6 degrees, or it's actually in between because it interpolates between these. So it's probably pulling a good 3 degrees, and that is just keeping the coolant rating bang on the line. You know, that's just to keep it off, you know, making too much cylinder pressure. And this is what you call living right on the edge of timing. So that last pull you've seen in the video there as well, where I went through the gears, you know, done a little pull for you. We'll go over that now, and I'll show you what's cracked there. So same sort of thing. I'm driving along, I put the foot down, come to that junction as you've seen. Foot's down here up to 1.5 1-ish bar, let's say 1.1 bar, and I think we got 1.17 or something like that, yeah, around about there. And as you can see, the coolant pressure starts raising, and as I really get into load with the car, you know, I'm in 3rd gear I think here, I've got a cut again. I've got another cut into 3rd, and I've got another cut into 4th. But as you can see here, it's pulling timing at the same points here, literally to try and stop this coolant pressure from going through the roof. But like I say, this shouldn't happen. This is me masking a problem, and you know, this is not ideal. So all in all, basically, the ARP studs didn't make a difference, and I'm not slagging ARP because I don't necessarily think it's a stud issue. I kind of wish I didn't give in to peer pressure, and I kind of wish I stayed with the OEM head gasket and used copper spray, but you know, now I'm just going to go Hail Mary and just go the full bifter with it and go like that. Here's my fuel map. You can see no spiky fuel maps. This is just my usual fuel map I use for the car, the D16, and my ignition timing map as well. You know, it's your usual sort of thing. So just now at a bar of boost, which is 200 kPa, I have, you know, 14, 15, 16 degrees of timing, which is still relatively retarded actually. I normally bump more in, but at the same time I don't want to be trying to ram in like 18, 19 degrees of timing when it's lifting the head. So it's very much down in power, although the car is still very fast. You know, it's like I say, it's still very much down in power. And I like this feature as well, as I can go over, I can actually see whereabouts, you know, it's supposed to be running. So as you can see there, it should be around about 16 degrees of timing, but it's actually down at, where we're at, so 14 degrees there, 15, 16, that's as it is usually, but as you can see the cut here, it should be around about 14 degrees, but we've actually only got 12, if you look at this cursor down here, because it's actually pulling the timing out from that graph. So guys, I'm going to hand you back over to myself sitting in the car, and I hope you've enjoyed this little introduction into looking over logs for coolant pressure and seeing what this maxxecu can do regarding logs.
So you've seen that there. I showed you guys over the logs so you can see exactly what's happening with the coolant pressure. You know, and the sensor itself is fully calibrated down to a PSI, so it is really accurate. So yeah, there you have it. So the fake ARP studs, the head lifts or the head blows, and so does genuine ARPs. So yeah, I put it down to like a cheap head gasket. I wish I used the OEM gasket again and just copper sealed it, because OEM quality is a lot better than the cheaper stuff. So but to be honest, I'm just going to run it really retarded, have a bit of fun in it anyway, and then next week I'll be getting time certs and the big bolts and genuine head gasket with a decked head, and we're going to stick it on, and then touch wood, at that point there the head shouldn't lift, and if it does I'm just going to disconnect the sensor. I'm not joking either. Right guys, you guys stay safe, take care, and we'll catch you as always in the next vid. Cheers.